Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today. I am Sasidharan Ramachandran, Senior Systems Engineer at Decos Software. Today, we'll discuss a crucial topic for medical device manufacturers understanding compliance with US FDA and EU MDR regulations. Before diving in, let's take a quick look at what we'll be covering today. To give a roadmap for today's discussion, we'll start with an overview of regulatory frameworks, followed by pre market and post market requirements. From here, we will dive into specific areas such as risk management and compliance strategies. Compliance with US FDA and UMDR regulations is crucial for medical device manufacturers for several reasons. They are safety and performance that ensures devices are safe and effective for their intended use, following strict standards like FDA 21 CFR Part 820 and EU MDR Annexure 1. For market access, compliance is required to sell products in US and Europe. Without it, devices are barred from these markets. For legal protection, the manufacturers must follow legal requirements or face penalties like fines or recalls. Compliance builds reputation and trust with healthcare providers, patients, and regulators, reinforcing a positive reputation through adherence to standards like ISO 13485. For competitive advantage, compliant companies can access more markets and reassure stakeholders that they prioritize safety and quality, gaining an edge over competitors. Both systems aims to ensure the safety and effectiveness of medical devices, but differ in their approaches. Our focus today will be on understanding these differences, key compliance areas, and how to align with regulations for successful market entry. Although the US FDA and UMDR share the common goal of patient safety and product efficacy, their compliance processes are different. These variations affect timelines, approvals, and documentation. Understanding these differences is critical for ensuring smooth market access in both regions. To achieve compliance with either or both the US FDA and UMDR, there are few important areas manufacturers needs to focus on: device classifications, pre-market approvals, post-market surveillance, risk management, and clinical evaluations. By the end of this session, you'll be able to recognize the key differences and similarities between US FDA and EU MDR regulations, understand the compliance process for approvals, documentation, and monitoring, and apply this knowledge to your regulatory strategy, making market entry smoother and more efficient. Before diving into core topic, here are the terms and their definitions that will be used throughout the webinar. References to regulations, standards, and guidance documents can be found at the end of the slide deck. Regulations are mandatory legal requirements established by government authorities that manufacturers must adhere to in order to market their devices. They cover crucial aspects such as safety, clinical evaluations, labeling, and post-market surveillance. Standards are voluntary technical specifications created by organizations like ISO or IEC. Although not legally binding, following these standards is strongly encouraged as they provide best practices for device design, testing, and performance, thereby aiding in demonstrating regulatory compliance. And guidance documents are non binding recommendations from regulatory authorities that help clarify expectations. They assist manufacturers in interpreting regulations, fulfilling compliance requirements, and navigating regulatory pathways. In this section, we'll review the key regulatory frameworks that govern medical devices in the US and the European Union, including risk classifications, highlighting their structure and processes required for compliance. The US FDA regulates medical devices under a tiered system based on the risk the device poses to the patients. Under the US FDA, the medical devices are classified into three categories: Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3, as follows. Class 1 are low-risk devices. These devices pose minimal risk to patient and are subject to general controls such as labeling and post-market surveillance. Some example includes bandages and handheld surgical tools. Most Class 1 devices are exempt from pre-market notification requirements. Class 2 are moderate risk devices, where the devices in this category require additional controls, including performance standards and post-market reporting. A 510K submission is typically required where manufacturers must demonstrate substantial equivalence to a similar device already on the market. Some example includes powered wheelchairs and diagnostic tests. Class 3 or high-risk devices. These are life-sustaining and life-supporting devices, such as pacemakers, that require the most stringent review. Class 3 devices undergo a rigorous pre-market approval process, which involves extensive safety and effectiveness data. Now that you have an idea of how devices are classified, let's shift focus to regulatory structure that supports this classification under the US FDA. Outlined here are the key components of US FDA regulatory structure, where Quality System Regulation 21 CFR Part 820 is mandatory. This regulation outlines good manufacturing practices, GMP, that manufacturers must follow, covering design controls, document controls, and corrective actions to ensure consistent safety and quality. 510K submission is a pathway for moderate risk devices where manufacturers must show their product is sustainability equivalent to an already marketed device. The pre-market approval (PMA) is the FDA's strictest process used for Class 3 devices. It requires comprehensive data to demonstrate the device's safety and effectiveness. For novel devices with no equivalent on the market, the de novo pathway allows for classification into Class 1 or Class 2 based on risk. It is used for low to moderate risk devices without a predicate device. The key focus areas of the US FDA regulatory structure are safety and effectiveness. Let's take a closer look at these two critical pillars. For safety, devices must not pose undue risk to patients, with a focus on materials, design, and potential hazards. And for its effectiveness, devices must perform as intended and meet the claims made by the manufacturer regarding functionality and performance. The FDA assesses these factors through rigorous testing, clinical data, and inspections to ensure that the benefits of the device outweigh any risk before approval. Having discussed the US FDA's classification, now let's turn our attention to the EU MDR and see how its classification system differs from the FDA's approach. The European Union's medical device regulation sets high standards for medical device safety and performance. It replaces the Medical Device Directive (MDD) and expands regulatory oversight to include a broader range of devices. Under the EU MDR risk classification, the medical devices are classified into four categories: Class 1, Class 2A, Class 2B, and Class 3, where Class 1 are low-risk devices. Devices like surgical instruments, which pose minimal risk, can be self-certified by manufacturers, but still must meet safety and performance requirements. Class 2A or low to medium risk devices. Devices like dental fillings fall into this category. They require more oversight, including notified body involvement for conformity assessment. Class 2B or medium to high risk devices. Devices like ventilators require additional clinical evaluation and testing, overseen by a notified body. Class 3 or the highest risk devices. Devices like implantable pacemakers undergo the strictest regulatory scrutiny, requiring extensive clinical data and certification from a notified body. Just like with FDA, the EU MDR has its own regulatory structure that is designed to ensure high standards of quality and safety for medical devices. Let's explore the key components of this structure. The EU MDR came into force in May 2021, replacing the Medical Device Directive (MDD). The EU MDR introduces a comprehensive regulatory framework that raises the bar for safety, performance, and post-market monitoring of medical devices. EU MDR applies to a wide range of medical devices, from simple bandages to complex implants. It emphasizes enhanced safety and performance standards, with a particular focus on improving transparency and traceability throughout the device lifecycle. The MDR covers not only traditional medical devices, but also certain aesthetic devices and active implantable devices. This broader scope ensures that more products must meet stringent safety standards, particularly those that pose similar risks to medical devices. We have covered the regulatory structure. Now let's focus on specific areas that are crucial for compliance under EU MDR. The key focus areas of EU MDR are centered on ensuring the safety, quality, and performance of medical devices, where the general safety and performance requirement GSPR is a key requirement of EU MDR. The EU MDR's Annexure 1 outline details safety and performance requirements that apply to all devices. Manufacturers must provide evidence through technical documentation, clinical evaluation reports, and risk assessment to show they meet these requirements. The Annexure 1 of EU MDR covers device design, manufacturing, risk management, and labeling. It ensures devices are biocompatible and safe for use. By understanding this key regulatory structure and processes, manufacturers can better navigate the FDA and EU MDR requirements to ensure their products meet the highest standards of safety, quality, and performance. This knowledge will help streamline market entry in both the US and the Europe. Before moving on, let's take a quick poll to assess your understanding so far. The question is, under the US FDA, which of the following is not a requirement for Class 3 device? I see that most of the people have chosen option C, 510K submission. Yeah, great. Yeah, that is right. The answer is C, 510K submission. Because unlike Class 1 and Class 2 devices, Class 3 devices typically require a pre-market approval rather than the 510K submission. This is because Class 3 devices pose highest risk and must demonstrate safety and effectiveness through most rigorous clinical data while still adhering to manufacturing quality system regulations. Now moving on. Now that we have gauged your understanding, let's move forward and discuss the essential pre-market requirements under both the US FDA and EU MDR regulatory frameworks. These requirements ensure that the medical device is safe, effective, and meet performance standards before they reach the market. To talk about US FDA's pre-market requirements, the FDA requires manufacturers to adhere to a structured framework for device design, risk management, and clinical evidence collection. Design controls must be compliant to 21 CFR Part 820 with the following structure, where the key components are design planning, design input and output, design verification, and design validation. In design planning, the manufacturers must establish clear procedures to guide the design and development process, ensuring responsibilities and timelines are in place. In design input and design output, design inputs refer to user needs and regulatory requirements, which are transformed into technical outputs like device specifications and materials. In design verification and design validation, the verification confirms that the design meets the specified inputs, while design validation ensures that device performs as intended in the real-world conditions. Since clinical evidence is such an important role of pre-market approval, let's dive deeper into the studies and data required to meet these regulatory demands. Clinical evidence is essential to demonstrate device safety and effectiveness with the structure of study design, data collection and analysis, and regulatory submissions. For study design and clinical trials must be robust and well planned to gather reliable data. For data collection and analysis, rigorous data analysis is performed to support safety claims. And for regulatory submissions, clinical data is submitted as part of either the 510K for substantial equivalence or PMA for high-risk device process. Switching the gears, let's now take a look at how the UMDR approaches pre-market requirements, particularly its emphasis on ongoing evaluations. The UMDR emphasizes comprehensive safety performance data, ensuring continuous evaluation even after the device is marketed. Manufacturers must prove their devices are safe and effective through clinical data to demonstrate compliance with the GSPR. Thorough clinical evidence, often in the form of clinical evaluation reports, is required to demonstrate compliance with the GSPR. A quality management system such as ISO 13485 must be in place to meet the requirements outlined in the EU MDR. Demonstrating device safety and performance through comprehensive clinical data like literature review, where the manufacturers gather relevant clinical data from existing sources to support safety claims. Clinical investigations, where when existing data is insufficient, new studies are conducted to fill the gaps. Post-market clinical follow (PMCF) is required to continuously monitor device performance after it enters the market, ensuring the identification of any emerging risk. Risk management is critical. ISO 14971 is a key standard for medical devices, seamlessly integrating with both US FDA and EU MDR regulatory frameworks. It provides a structured approach to identifying, assessing, and mitigating risk throughout the product lifecycle, ensuring compliance with global safety and performance requirements. The risk management structure are hazard identification, where recognized potential risk associated with the device, such as mechanical, electrical, or biological hazards. Risk analysis and control, where assessing risk by their likelihood and severity, then implementing design controls to mitigate them. And risk monitoring, where ongoing risk review and monitoring post market to address any emerging risk. While risk management focuses on identifying and mitigating hazards throughout the device lifecycle, it is equally crucial to address human interaction with the device. The risk associated with user error can be just as significant as technical risk. This is where human factors HF and usability engineering UE play an essential role in supporting risk management efforts. Both US FDA and UMDR emphasize incorporating HF UE principles early in the design process. Human factors focus on the interaction between humans and devices to minimize user errors and to ensure device safety and effectiveness. The FDA emphasizes human factors in pre-market submissions, particularly for high-risk devices. Human factors engineering must demonstrate that the devices can be used safely and effectively aligned with FDA guidance. For example, FDA's guidance for applying human factors and usability engineering. Summative usability testing is often required to confirm that critical tasks are performed without causing harm or error. On the other hand, EU MDR stresses usability as part of the General Safety and Performance Requirement (GSPR) under Annexure 1. Usability is evaluated as a part of devices risk management, and manufacturers must document how usability contributes to the overall safety and performance of the device, which has been outlined in the standard IEC 62366. Both ISO 14971 and HFUE frameworks ensure the device not only functions safely but also considers how users interact with it, preventing use-related risk. Notified body assesses human factors and usability engineering documentation as a part of the conformity assessment process. Continuing with the topic of assessments, let's discuss the roles that a notified body play in the EU MDR conformity process. Notified bodies are independent organizations designated by the EU member states to assess whether medical devices meet the MDR's requirements. Notified bodies play a very key role in technical documentation review, where the notified body examines the manufacturer's technical files to ensure compliance. They conduct facility audits to evaluate the quality management system. Once compliance is confirmed, the CE mark is issued, allowing the device to be sold in European Union. Now that we have covered both systems individually, it's time to compare the FDA and the UMDR to see where they align and where they differ. FDA or centralized body that conducts internal reviews and approvals, whereas EUMDR are decentralized, relying on multiple independent notified bodies designated by member states. FDA emphasized on rigorous testing, often focusing on safety and effectiveness through pre-market submissions like 510K and PMA, whereas EUMDR focused more on comprehensive clinical evidence and continuous post-market evaluations. FDA focused strongly on performance validation before market entry, especially for high-risk devices, whereas EUMDR emphasizes ongoing performance monitoring requiring post-market clinical follow-up to ensure devices continue to meet safety standards. Let's engage with another poll to test your understanding of EUMDR requirements. The question is, under the UMDR, which of the following statements is true regarding clinical evaluation? Thank you for participating. I see that most people have chosen the option D. Option D is it assesses the safety and performance of the device based on clinical data. Yes, that is right. Because the clinical evaluations are mandatory for all device classes under EUMDR and are critical for demonstrating that the medical device meets regulatory requirements for safety and performance through the use of clinical data. Moving forward, software plays a crucial role in medical devices, and both the FDA and EUMDR provide comprehensive guidance to ensure the safety, effectiveness, and compliance of each software. The main points of comparison between the two regulatory frameworks focuses on the types of softwares, risk classifications, and key compliance requirements. There are two types of softwares, SAMD and SAMD. SAMD stands for software as medical device, where the software is a standalone and performs medical functions without being tied to a hardware device. For example, apps for diagnostic purposes, clinical decision making, or treatment planning. SAMD stands for software in a medical device, where the software is embedded into a physical device to enhance or control its functions. For example, software in insulin pumps or MRI machines fall under this category. The software are classified based on risk. In US FDA, software are classified into Class 1, minimal risk, for example, basic health tracking apps or simple calculations. Class 2, moderate risk, for example, clinical decision support software where errors could cause harm. Class 3, high risk, for example, software controlling life-saving devices like defibrillators. In EUMDR, software can be classified from Class 1 to Class 3 based on its intended use and potential risk. For example, software managing critical conditions may fall under Class 3, while simpler applications like fitness trackers might be Class 1. The key compliance areas for the software are cybersecurity, where both FDA and UMDR emphasize protecting software from unauthorized access and data breaches. Ensuring cybersecurity is a top priority throughout the software lifecycle. Clinical performance, where software must demonstrate its effectiveness in real world clinical settings. Validation may involve clinical trials to perform studies. Interoperability, where medical software often needs to work alongside with other systems. Ensuring compatibility with other systems is crucial to meet regulatory requirements. Both regulators require continuous monitoring of software performance after its release through post market surveillance. This includes collecting data on real world use to identify potential risks and areas for improvement. Gathering feedback from healthcare professionals and patients is essential to identify issues and refine software functionality over time. The international standard ISO 14971 is a guideline for identifying and managing risk throughout the software developing process. Potential risks such as bugs or cybersecurity threats must be addressed. The standards IEC 62304 outlines processes for software development, maintenance, and updates. It ensures that the software follows a systematic approach for safety and reliability. Software verification and validation is critical, where software verification ensures that software updates meet specified requirements such as fixing bugs or introducing new features through rigorous testing, whereas software validation confirms that the software continues to meet user needs and functions correctly in real world environments. Both FDA and EU MDR require manufacturers to maintain thorough records of all verification and validation activities to demonstrate compliance and safety, particularly during audits or reviews. In summary, both the FDA and EU MDR share common goals in regulating medical device software, but they differ in classification systems and compliance details. The emphasis on cybersecurity, clinical performance, and post market monitoring ensures that software remains safe and effective throughout its life cycle. Once devices hits the market, monitoring their performance is critical. Let's now explore how post-market surveillance requirements compare under the FDA and UMDR. The US FDA's post-market surveillance focuses on the ongoing safety and effectiveness of medical devices after they are approved for market use. This includes medical device reporting, MDR, for adverse events, where the medical device manufacturers are required to report adverse event and device malfunctions that could cause serious injury or death. This is mandated under FDA's Medical Device Reporting (MDR) system. Reports must be submitted within 30 days of becoming aware of an issue or within 5 days if the situation presents a significant threat to public health. The FDA's MedWatch system is used to streamline the reporting process, allowing manufacturers to submit detailed reports online. For I-Class 3 devices, such as implantable devices, the FDA often requires post-approval studies to monitor long-term safety and effectiveness. Post-approval studies are conducted based on FDA guidelines to ensure data integrity and provide robust evidence on the device's real-world performance. Manufacturers must maintain an ongoing quality management system to monitor and update device performance throughout the product lifecycle. If issues arise, manufacturers must implement corrective and preventive actions (CAPA) to resolve the issue and prevent it from recurring. A systematic process for managing complaints and requiring ensuring any issues are thoroughly investigated and resolved. Additionally, the FDA may mandate post-market studies or clinical trials to gather more data on long-term safety and efficacy. This continuous evaluation helps ensure that any emerging risk are promptly addressed, maintaining patient safety and product quality. Under the EU MDR, post-market surveillance is a critical component of the regulatory framework designed to ensure the safety and performance of medical devices after they receive CE marking. Manufacturers are required to establish and implement a comprehensive post-market surveillance system that includes PMS plans and reporting, where the manufacturers are required to create detailed PMS plans specifying how they will monitor the device after market release. Regular periodic safety update reports (PSUR) must be submitted summarizing device performance and safety data. This helps authorities monitor for any emerging risk. Vigilance reporting, where immediate reporting of serious incident affecting patient safety is mandatory. Timelines for reporting depend on the severity of the incident. When safety concerns arise, manufacturers must take field safety corrective actions (FSCA), such as recalls or product modification to address the risk. Post-market clinical follow-up (PMCF) involves conducting ongoing clinical studies to gather real-world data on the performance and safety of a device. EUDAMED is a EU's centralized database for tracking medical devices, enhancing regulatory oversight under the MDR. It connects the post-market surveillance by centralizing the reporting of adverse events, safety updates, and corrective actions. This ensures regulators can monitor devices' performance and safety throughout its life cycle. By emphasizing continuous monitoring and risk management, the EU MDR aims to enhance patient safety and ensure that devices remain compliant with regulatory standards throughout their life cycle. Building on the concept of post market surveillance, let's now do a side by side comparison of the vigilance system in the US and the EU. In FDA, adverse events must be reported within 30 days or within 5 days for serious public health threats. Whereas in EU MDR, the reporting timelines vary from depending on the severity, with the life-threatening incidents requiring report within 10 days, while less critical issues may allow for longer reporting windows. The FDA focuses on concise reporting through the MedWatch system, emphasizing the rapid submission to mitigate risk, whereas the EU MDR requires more detailed reports, including corrective actions and follow-up measures, with an emphasis on continuous improvement. The FDA prioritizes immediate risk mitigation, ensuring that the potential threats to patient safety are addressed swiftly, whereas the EU MDR takes a more comprehensive approach, incorporating continuous analysis, long term clinical follow up, and regular updates to PMS plans based on real world data. Both the US FDA and UMDR emphasize the importance of post market surveillance to maintain the safety and effectiveness of medical devices. While the FDA's focuses on immediate risk mitigation and rapid response, the UMDR adopts broader approach, integrating continuous improvement and long-term monitoring. Manufacturers must comply with these regulatory frameworks to ensure the devices remain safe and effective throughout their entire life cycle. In addition to surveillance, managing risk and ensuring accurate labeling is crucial. Let's explore how both the FDA and UMDR handle these two important aspects. Let's talk about FDA's risk management. ISO 14971 is applied throughout the device lifecycle to identify and reduce risk. Manufacturers must maintain detailed risk management files or regulatory submissions, ensuring all potential hazards are addressed. For FDA's labeling and unique device identifier (UDI) requirements, each device must have a unique device identifier for traceability and tracking. Labels must provide clear, accurate information about device use, risk, and regulatory status, ensuring transparency and safety. Coming to EU MDR's risk management, like FDA, ISO 14971 is utilized across the entire life cycle of the device to recognize and mitigate risk. EU MDR emphasizes the risk benefit ratio evaluation, where the manufacturers must regularly assess whether the benefit of the device continue to outweigh the risk. Measures are implemented to minimize risk as a part of comprehensive risk management strategy. To talk about labeling and UDI requirements under EU MDR, like the FDA, EU MDR mandates UDIs for tracking and safety. Enhanced labeling must include detailed instructions, safety information, and compliance indicators to ensure safe and proper use of the device. Both the FDA and UMDR emphasize robust risk management through ISO 14971 and require clear labeling and UDI systems for traceability and safety. These regulations ensure devices are monitored throughout their life cycle, keeping patients and users safe. Keeping track of timelines is critical for compliance. Let's now move into understanding the deadlines and transition periods under both frameworks. Let's talk about the FDA's timelines. For 510K reviews, devices that demonstrate equivalence to a legally marketed device, the FDA typically takes about 90 days for review. However, this may vary depending on the device complexity. For PMA reviews, high-risk Class 3 devices undergo pre-market approval, which can take up to 180 days or more due to the need for extensive clinical evidence. In de novo classifications, for novel, low to moderate risk devices, the review time varies depending on the device's complexity and novelty, often taking longer than the 510K process. It is essential to align product development with the regulatory submission schedules to avoid delays. Planning ahead ensures timely market entry. Understanding the FDA's timelines, let's now talk about the EU MDR's deadlines and extensions. The original deadlines of medical device medical devices under EU MDR for compliance was set for 26 May 2020, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, this was postponed to 26 May 2021. However, devices that were still compliant with MDD for active implantable medical devices or for other medical devices could continue to lawfully placed on the market or put into service until 26 May 2024. The recent extensions per Regulation 2023/607 introduced significant extension in the response to challenges, including those caused by the pandemic are devices with certificates under MDD that were still valid on 26 May 2021 can remain valid until 31st December 2027 for Class 3 and certain Class 2B implantable devices excluding sutures, staples, dental fillings, etc., and until 31st December 2028 for other Class 2B, Class 2A, and Class 1 devices if placed on the market sterile or with a measuring function. For Class 3 custom-made implantable devices, manufacturers were given until 26 May 2026 to comply, provided they submit an application for conformity assessment by 26 May 2024 and sign an agreement with the notified body by 26 September 2024. The transitional extensions apply only if devices continue to comply with the old directives. No significant changes are made to their design or intended use. The devices do not pose any unacceptable risk to health or safety. This phased implementation aims to allow more time for manufacturers, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, to meet the stringent new requirements while avoiding potential shortages of medical devices. Manufacturers should update technical documentation, perform necessary clinical evaluations, and obtain new certifications from notified bodies to ensure compliance. Both the FDA and EU MDR have clear timelines for device approvals. Early strategic planning and understanding of these deadlines are critical for smooth regulatory compliance and avoid market disruptions. Having understood the regulations and timelines, what's next? Let's wrap up by discussing some strategies and best practices that will help ensure smooth compliance. Maintaining clear and comprehensive documentation is essential. This includes design, testing, risk assessments, and regulatory submissions. Regular internal and external audits are vital to identify compliance gaps and address them before they escalate. Risk management should be embedded in the quality systems throughout the product lifecycle. Continuously monitor and document risk following ISO 14971 to ensure potential issues are identified and mitigated promptly. For devices with software components, it's critical to integrate regulatory requirements early in the development process. Adhering to standards like ISA 62304, Standard for Software Lifecycle, and ISO 14971 ensures safer and compliant products. Ongoing monitoring and updates of the software are also necessary to maintain compliance as standards evolve. Successful compliance requires collaboration between software developers, hardware developers, quality assurance, and regulatory teams. This ensures that all aspects of design testing and risk management align with regulatory expectations, reducing the likelihood of delays or non-compliance. By following these best practices, manufacturers can better navigate FDA and EU MDR regulations and bring safe, effective products to market. As we conclude this webinar, let's summarize the key points about US FDA and EU MDR regulations, their differences and similarities, and the importance of compliance in the evolving landscape of medical devices. Both the FDA and EU MDR aim to ensure safety and effectiveness of medical devices. However, the FDA has a more centralized approach focused on pre-market evaluations, while the EU MDR emphasizes broader safety standards and stringent post-market surveillance. The FDA uses a three-class system, Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, to categorize device based on risk. The EU MDR employs a four-class system, Class 1, Class 2A, Class 2B, and Class 3, which provides greater detail, particularly for medium-risk devices and new technologies like software. The FDA conducts internal reviews for device assessments, whereas the EU MDR relies on independent notified bodies, this decentralized approach in the EU can lead to different approval timelines. Both frameworks require post market surveillance to maintain device safety. However, the FDA have specific reporting timelines such as 30 days for adverse events, while the EU MDR has more extensive documentation requirements for serious incidents. Manufacturers must ensure compliance with both FDA and EU MDR regulations to assess global market and avoid regulatory scrutiny. A proactive approach to regulatory planning can align product development with submission timelines, minimizing delays. Utilizing frameworks like ISO 13485 can enhance compliance efforts. The regulatory landscape is always changing, so manufacturers need to stay flexible and ready to adjust the new guidelines and best practices. Navigating compliance in various markets presents unique challenges, including differing regulations and documentation standards. Establishing robust quality system can help meet global expectations. A standardized compliance framework that aligns with both FDA and UMDR requirements can facilitate smoother transition across markets. Regulatory requirements are continually updated, so staying informed is crucial for compliance. Implementing monitoring systems to track regulatory updates and safety concerns is essential to maintain compliance throughout a device lifecycle. As technologies such as artificial intelligence, software as a medical device, and wearable health tech develop, regulations will likely focus more on cybersecurity, data privacy, and collecting real world evidence. Standards like IEC 62304 for software and ISO 27001 for information security will become increasingly important. In summary, successful compliance with both US FDA and UMDR regulations requires a strategic and adaptable approach. By focusing on thorough documentation, risk management, and vigilant post market surveillance, manufacturers can navigate regulatory complexities while maintaining the highest standards of safety and effectiveness for their medical devices. Let's engage in the final poll to assess your understanding of post market surveillance requirements. Which regulatory system has stringent requirements for post market surveillance and vigilance for Class 3 devices? Thank you for your participation. I could see most of the people have chosen the answer A. The correct answer is A, EUMDR, because the EUMDR imposes more stringent requirements for post market surveillance and vigilance for Class 3 devices comparing to US FDA. This includes comprehensive monitoring processes, mandatory periodic safety update reports, and more proactive approach to identifying and mitigating risk associated with these high-risk devices. This heightened level of oversight ensures safety and effectiveness in the market. We want to provide you with our final reference slide. This slide includes key resources, important links, and further reading materials that will deepen your understanding of the topics we have covered today. We encourage you to explore these references for additional insights and information to support your ongoing learning and professional development. We would like to take a moment to introduce our services. We are a strong player in software service and healthcare industry for the last 20 years. We have delivered significant projects for various clients across globe in the field of new product development and legacy devices. Here, you will find a comprehensive overview of the solutions we offer to help you navigate the complexities of regulatory compliance and quality assurance in the medical devices industry. Like UMS documentation, training and implementation support with compliance to ISO 13485, 21 CFR Part 820, and medical device single audit program. US FDA compliance support for 510K, PMA, and de novo pathways. EU MDR compliance support like drafting technical documentation file, design history file remediation support, risk management integration with product lifecycle, clinical evaluation plan and support, biocompatibility consulting, software verification and validation support, human factors and usability engineering evaluation support. In conclusion, we hope the services we have shared have helped you understanding how we can support your needs and goals. If you have any questions or need more help, please don't hesitate to reach out using the contact details provided. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.